Okay, I only have 10 minutes, so I have to go through these pretty quick. TellMeWhen is basically can do a lot of things, but I use it to monitor different spell cooldowns, different reactive abilities like Eviscerate. I use it to monitor my stealth, and I use it to monitor buffs and debuffs on me as well as the debuffs on my target. So if the first thing you want to do is, if you're creating a new TellMeWhen thing, is you would go into the interface and you would go into add-ons, TellMeWhen, and you would go into your group's profiles here, click this, because global's for across all your characters. You only want to deal with you, which is group's profiles here. And here's where you would add a new bar. So if I wanted to add a new one, let's just click this header here so I get this, add another group. You want to use the icon group. Once you do this, then always give it a name. So let's say I'm going to do spell CDs, spell cooldowns. Always give it a name. Always click OK immediately, because if you don't click OK immediately and start changing things, that name will disappear. So click OK. Go in here. All you really care about is the columns that you're going to have that's going to show up on your bar. And that's just basically how many spells you can drop on the bar. And basically rows. That's it. Really, it's just columns. So let's say we want to make one that's got 4 columns. We've given a name. We're done. Click OK. So now we want to type in /TellMeWhen, and that way it'll show you all of your bars. I just created this one here. I'm going to move this one out of the way. I just created this one here, and let's say we wanted to do some of what we're seeing that I've already done. Let's say we wanted to create a monitor for Eviscerate. We want to go in, we want to click the icon type. It's going to be a reactive ability. All abilities that require some sort of condition like combo points are reactive, or like health less than 25% are reactive. So we say reactive. It's always going to have when it's usable checked by default, which is what we want. We want this icon to show up on the screen when it's usable. We want to show the timer or any timer text if there happens to be any, and I like to see the global cooldown. Then we want to pick whichever spell we're actually dealing with here. So it's Eviscerate. Just start typing it in, choose from the suggestions on the right, Eviscerate, click OK. And then to /TellMeWhen to close this down. Okay, we don't see Eviscerate because we don't have any combo points in theory, so let's go ahead and hit something.
Rampage.
Now we see the big icon Eviscerate. It's saying, okay, now we can use Eviscerate. I hit D. I used Eviscerate, and guess what? It disappeared. So that is working the way we want it to work. Let's go ahead and look at some of the other ones I've set up. I have Stealth here, which is just an icon to track stealth. This is just merely so that when I go into stealth mode, I can see that I'm in stealth. I like having it here. It's easy to see. It's not at the bottom left corner of the screen. It's where I have to look down. And when I'm in combat and BGs and someone hits me and I'm out of stealth, I want to see right away that little icon to my left. I can see and that it's coming back. And I'm like, oh, now I can go right back into stealth. It's extremely helpful. I highly recommend that. Go back to TellMeWhen. I like to do the debuffs. I've got the cheap shot, which is a cheap shot. It's a buff debuff. Obviously, it's a debuff. So when you go in, you select buff debuff from the drop down. Then you make sure it's debuff is the only thing checked. You select target, which is cheap shot is going to be on your target, and you select ability. So you type in cheap shot, and you want to basically show it. Show timer text. That's all. Now, I'm just going to go through these, and you can stop the video so you can see what I've got for these settings. So that's cheap shot. Here's kidney shot. Okay, so you can see these settings. It's very similar to cheap shot. Here is hemorrhage. Here's the settings for hemorrhage. If you want to track bleed on your target, which I like to do. Here's rupture. We can track rupture. You can pause this video to look at these settings. Here is Cloak of Shadows. I like to track. That's a buff. Again, you can see it's a buff. That's for me. These are buffs for myself. Slice and dice. I want to know when my slice and dice is up. Here's how I set up slice and dice. And then, of course, I've got, these are just cooldown stuff, very similar to what I already told you about. Here's Shadow Dance. All that is a spell cooldown. Shadow Dance. Show when it's available or not available. And, show the timer. So basically, let's take a look at how these things work. I go in, I hit cheap shot. You can see right away how much time I have. I go in, boom, immediately time kidney shot off of that. You can see that. I hemorrhage. I see my hemorrhage up. I go ahead and hit rupture. You see I've got some bleeds going. Slice and dice is now up as a player buff on my player window. Go ahead and hit faint. And the other one I have is recuperate. Hit recuperate. So right now I can see my recoup, how long that's going. My slice and dice. I can see how long my rupture is gonna last on my target. And if I want to cheap shot, kidney shot, I can see right here in my target window how long those abilities are going to last. All this is done so that as a rogue, I can practice locking down my target without breaking that lockdown. I don't ever want him to come out of my stuns. Some of these icons are, like these bigger ones, I'm going to get rid of because I've just done those to show you stuff. So these, like obviously this one, I'll delete these. Now these are kind of big and they're almost kind of in my way, but like again, most of this stuff you don't see. It's not really there when you're playing. Not until you start using some of these abilities do they show up. This is the Nug combo bar. Or I think it's called Nug combo bar, which just tracks combo points. It's good for pharaohs and for rogues. I like to use it. It's too close to my character. I need to move that. And that's about it. Hopefully that helps. I did it because I only have 10 minutes of recording on the free version, but just pause the video to look at those settings, play around with it. Again, you go into the interface to TellMeWhen to actually manipulate these groups. You click the group profile to click icon to add a group icon, a bar of icons, and then just rename it and give it how many columns you want. You can delete these in here as well, like the test group. I'm going to go ahead and delete this one. It's down here at the bottom, delete group, delete. Click OK. Okay, and then once they're up, /type TellMeWhen in the text window just to bring up the actual bars so you can actually right-click on them and do what you need to do. Hopefully that helps.